My mom was a CNA since I could remember, pretty young. It's always just really been me and my mom, with me being the only child, so I'd understand her having to leave for 8 hours. And sometimes if she couldn't find a babysitter and I was too young, she'd actually take me to work with approval from her supervisor, and I'd see what she's doing, and I'm like, okay, that. At first I was freaked out, like, no, I can't do it. I don't want to go to work. And then as I got older, I started seeing the hard work she put into it and how emotional the job can get, and I just had a big heart to care. Um, and I seen how she treated the patients like family and how much they loved her, and I'm like, okay, that's something I'd be interested in. Um, I wish I would have brought my pictures. When I was like 3 or 2 years old, my Nana used to have like the doctor kid and my teddy bear that I still have to this day. I would have donated it, but I love it a lot. I called him Mr. Grizzly, and I used to do assessments and examine Mr. Grizzly when I was younger, and I have pictures of it, which is pretty neat because the same color scrubs I'm wearing in those photos, I wear those now in my adult life, and I have a picture that I collaged together. So I used to practice on my bear. I used to see my mom go to work. My aunt's a surgical tech. She was a CNA before, so a lot of the women in our family have done CNA work a lot, and they offered it in high school for free at American Red Cross. So I went there, got certified, and been doing it since then. I guess it might be different for other healthcare workers, but for me, during that time when it first was announced and us protesting, I was already in a way out on the front lines marching. Excuse me. So I feel like for me, I don't know, I can't explain it. I was getting hit left and right. Like, oh, how are you in healthcare and you're out here protesting? And then how are you, probably potentially making your patients unsafe? And for me personally, being Black and being a nurse, it was, I'm Black first, the same way that I risk my life every day before COVID, interacting with these patients, not knowing if they have like tuberculosis or they have ammonia or if they have COVID. For me, it's like I knew what I was getting myself into. I signed up for this. So if I can go out here and see these patients every day and not knowing what they have and risk my life, I felt obligated to do the same when marching for my community. So for me during the pandemic, not only was it scary because we don't know where this illness or this virus came from, how it's being transmitted, and how to, I don't know, treat yourself, I guess, or prevent it from spreading. It was more like, I don't know. It was scary. It was scary because I, as much as I care for my patients, didn't want to harm them from being in the community, even though I was following CDC guidelines. You just didn't know in that moment. First of all, if the guidelines were accurate, because it felt like every week working in the hospital, something was changing. Either we're changing units around, changing beds around, doing construction on units and rooms for like negative air pressure rooms. It was just unknown for me. And then seeing so many patients in that type of condition, it was scary. Sorry, I like literally just did my makeup and I don't want to get teary-eyed. But it was scary in that moment to even look back and think of the kind of faces you saw and people feeling like they're gonna die and then passing. It was heartbreaking. And then to hear negative comments like, it's your fault or you're going out protesting, even though I was getting like every 3 days swabs and I was always negative, knock on wood. I've never caught COVID. It was more of a mental thing, I guess. Not knowing like, hey, you have a community of Black people depending on you, you're a voice here and we need these changes, but then you also have your job and your patients. So, I don't know, as a whole, it was just mentally exhausting. I don't know, it was an emotional time, I think, for not just myself, but a lot of America. At one point, I just feel like was just still during the pandemic. I felt bad for kids coming into the hospital and not being able to actually come in with their parents. Sure, thank you. Because we had restrictions. Now we have no visitors. Now people that are in labor can't have the father's child in there. So it was hard as a healthcare worker because then you get the anger from the family, even though, hey, we're like, we're on your side. Like, we feel bad that you can't have the father of your child in here, but we also understand because right now this virus is serious and we don't know how it's spreading, and we have to keep our patients, and the patients have to keep us safe in a way too, because we don't know who you're around. You don't know who we're around. At the time, we did not have a vaccine. So I don't know. In that aspect, just being a healthcare worker, it was scary because we didn't know how it was coming about. We were just every day being updated and doing what the CDC told us to, but then it was also scary being an activist and just having that conscious, like, should I stop because I am working here, or do I keep going because this is a serious problem? It's killing me in a way too. I feel like that moment, protesting and stuff, it just was like it was like a different chapter in my life. Every conversation I have ends up being about protesting and the protest family that I made. Even though I'm Black, even though I'm adult, I felt like I really hit a different chapter in my life during 2020. Even though I was already aware of all the police brutality, I was aware of what to do when you get pulled over. I was aware of everything that we encounter when being profiled and stereotyped. I'm aware of it. It happens to me. But I feel like that moment in 2020 just hit different. And I think it's because of people I was with. That sweater means a lot to me because when I was protesting by myself, I decided to put that face on it. Like, hey, the people that know me, they speak highly of me. Like, oh, she's fun. She's good energy. She's, a part of our community, and she works at a hospital. Like, they think, all the good things. But to a normal person who doesn't know me, if I go outside and run to the gas station with my bonnet on and pajamas on because it's 5 a.m., and I want to go home and I need to grab something from the gas station, they might think, oh, she's, like just bad things of me. Okay. So I put that on my shirt. I chose that picture because it had me in like my nursing uniform, and I want to show them like, hey, this can happen to me too. You guys, like, some of my white friends or people that know of me that are white may think, oh, she's such a good person. And if something was to happen to me, I feel like they would vouch for me like, oh, no, she wouldn't do that. That's not right. But I wanted to show people that this can still happen to me. Show those people that think so highly of me that this is really a problem and it can still happen to me, even though I have no background, never been in trouble except for speeding. This can still happen to me. And I get scared every single time that a cop's in my rearview mirror. So I chose that, and then I chose to put on the back, I will not apologize for my Blackness in your fear, because I will not. If you feel a certain type of way because of my skin color, my appearance, then that's a personal problem, and you need to take it up with yourself. So I like that sweater. I brought it to almost every single protest.